Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Inside Artesian Basketball here on WREP 15 Sports. I'm your host, Eric Meyer, joined as always by Artesian head coach Kip Staggs. Got a lot to talk about on this week's show. The Artesians battled Guerin Catholic at Pepsi Coliseum last Saturday afternoon and night. We'll talk with the coach about that game, and we'll also preview the Artesians 2 contest coming up this weekend on the road Friday night against Bloomington South, back home in the friendly confines of the John R. Wooden Gym on Saturday against Providence Cristo Rey. Coach, let's first talk about the contest against Guerin Catholic. Had a little bit of a strange circumstance going into the weekend. Didn't have school on Friday, had a big night planned to battle Bloomington North. That didn't happen. Got to bring the kids in late on Saturday afternoon, get them on the bus, and get them up there to play Guerin Catholic, and the Eagles were able to come away with a victory.
Well, last week was just kind of an awkward week. We felt like we had a really good week of practice, but obviously the weather threw a wrench in it, and we were excited about the opportunity to play Bloomington North, and as well as having a little Artie's night, as well as acknowledging and recognizing Ken Roden for all of his service to Little Artie's. And so we were disappointed from that standpoint that we weren't able to play and weren't able to go through with those festivities. That game has been rescheduled for February 13th, and we're still working on a date for Little Artie's night and to recognize Coach Roden. So that'll come forward in short time. And so, you know, that kind of threw us for a little bit of a loop, but you make it what it is. And so then Saturday, as you mentioned, due to the weather and for safety of the students, we moved everything back, and so we were able to get in here about 2 o'clock on Saturday afternoon, quickly went over some Guerin scouting reports and some things and tendencies that they do. We really hadn't spent any time on them. Our focus had been on Bloomington North all week. And so, you know, we get in here on Saturday afternoon, jump on a bus about 3, and then headed up to a great venue. You know, it's just quite an honor to play in that type of showcase in the format. And you know, it's a pro arena, it's a college arena, and so it has a different flavor, has a different feel to it. You know, the lights are different, the scoreboards are different, and so, you know, it's one of the things I told our guys before we went out. Hey, when you get out there, make sure you know where the scoreboards are at, and because it is different from a regular venue. But you know, from that standpoint, it was a really good experience for our guys. But we got caught in a buzzsaw with Guerin, and they played extremely well, and unfortunately, we did not.
On a very cold night, you ran into a very hot shooting Guerin Catholic ball club. They came out from the get-go, hit some shots early on, and continued really that hot shooting throughout the contest. Your ball club didn't shoot it very well throughout the game and ends up with the Guerin Catholic victory.
Well, they shot 68% for the game, and that's just unbelievably high. And you know, we shot 30%, and that's just unbelievably low. And we've been shooting the ball much better than that. But you know, we really got into a stretch. The last 4 minutes of the first half and the first 4 minutes of the second half really made the game get away from us. And you know, we went scoreless during that 8-minute stretch, and they weren't. And you know, we went from it was a 23-15 game, and we had a couple shots that didn't go in there mid part of the second quarter. And then they capitalized, scored real well at the end of the half, and then we found ourselves down 30-15. And during that stretch, up to that point, we'd missed 3 layups, and a shooter or 2 got away from us on the defensive end. And so, you know, we didn't help ourselves any, but we weren't out of it either. We just didn't make plays when we needed to down that last 4-minute stretch of the half. And then they came out in the second half and just took control of the game.
Took control of the game. What do you guys as a coaching staff now come away from that game and try to draw from it with some of the film and some of the things that you're trying to teach the young men as you move forward in the season?
Well, one of our goals going into the game against Guerin was we need to play 4 quarters, and we need to put 32 minutes together. And we felt like we have not done that. We haven't done it since Christmas. And so that was one of our goals going in, and obviously we didn't do that. But also, we've got some guys that have got to understand their role and accept their role and excel in their role. And, you know, maybe that's a guy that scores, maybe that's a guy that defends, maybe that's a guy that passes. You know, there's a lot of different. But we've got to have some guys that contribute in the way they can contribute. And when we have some individuals that don't do some of those things, it just really hurts the team and it hurts each other. And so we've got to look at our strengths, understand those things, and make sure you bring those strengths to the table each night. And so, you know, we've had those conversations, and we talked about it a little bit. going into Tuesday's practice. And so, I think we've gotten over some of that. We've had the last 2 days have been pretty good. So I think from that standpoint, we've bounced back pretty good.
You've got a tough matchup coming up on Friday night as you will travel down to Bloomington South to battle Coach J.R. Holmes and the Bloomington South Panthers, and you'll do that in the battle for the old Shavy Mug. And once again, J.R.'s got a pretty good ball club.
Well, they shoot the ball extremely well. Chance Coyle is a University of Southern Indiana signee and has really played well for 4 years for them. And I remember as a freshman, he had 16 points against us, and a freshman was really a difference in the game. If it wasn't for him, we win the game, and that was a game that was here. And so, he's done really well. And then they've got a couple other guys. The Leal kid's a sophomore that shoots it well. IU's been in to see him, and Jagger's a nice little freshman guard for them, and Bomba's a kid that can shoot it. And so they've got some nice pieces. They don't have the size that they've had in the past. They probably don't have the depth that they've had in the past, but they shoot it so well and they play within themselves. They don't turn it over. And so they're just very efficient on the offensive end. And then defensively, they just don't get themselves in any trouble. I mean, they switch everything and they kind of know where to be. They play well together as one, and that's one reason they're in the top 10. But, this game for us is more about us than it is about them. I mean, obviously we're going to focus on a few things, but we need to find a good rhythm in the game. We need to find a good flow to the game, come out with some good energy, play with some urgency for 4 quarters, and then see where it goes from there.
As you look at what South does and a lot of things that JR's done, he's been there forever, and a lot of things that they have done, what are we going to see out of them? I know the focus for you guys is what you do, but for the fans and things, what are they going to see out of South offensively and defensively on Friday night?
Well, on the defensive end, they're going to switch. They're going to play man-to-man. They'll play that switching man-to-man that they've done for several years. And they've pressed a little bit, little 1-2-1-1, little 1-2-2, 3-quarter court. They did it earlier in the year. They have done a little 1-3-1 when they needed it. But predominantly, 80 to 90% of their defense is man-to-man, and they switch everything. On the offensive end, they have a lot of options. They've run a lot of different screen actions, but predominantly they're looking to get Coyle the ball, and so he's going to be the guy, the number one focus for them every time they get down the floor. And then from there, Jagger can get to the basket going to his left, and Leal does a good job of shooting threes, and so that's kind of what you would see if you're coming to watch us on Friday.
Some of the things then you guys are going to have to do, and we talked about them a little bit, but things that you guys are going to have to do well to try to limit what they like to do.
Well, first of all, we've got to do a really good job of mentally being tuned into the game from the get-go, and that's something that we've struggled with in a few contests. And so, that's probably our first task. The second task is just be in a position in the second half, be in the hunt. When you think about Decatur Central, we had to battle back so much from that halftime deficit, and we found ourselves in the hunt. Just couldn't get over the top. Mount Vernon was kind of the same way. Guerin was definitely the same way. So we've got to be in a position in the third and fourth quarter where we can make a difference in the game. And so, that's one thing. And then also, I think from us on the offensive end, we've got to take care of the basketball and take what they give us. And because since they are going to switch, we've got to read and respond and react, anticipate some of those things, and put ourselves in positions where we can be successful and be ready for those things. And then on the defensive end, we've got to make sure we know where Coyle's at. That's pretty simple. Limit his touches the best we can. Make sure we contest Leal. If you think back to last year's game, we let Leal stand in the corner and shoot threes, and I think he had 3 of them in the first half. And so, those are things we can't let happen for us to be in a position to win the game.
Then on Saturday night, you guys get to return home, and you will battle Providence Cristo Rey, so you guys have an opportunity then on Saturday to come back, either way, win or lose, bounce back against what will be a tough physical game against Bloomington South. It always is down at South to battle Providence Cristo Rey.
Well, absolutely, and if you remember back to last year, it was a struggle for us, and we finally got it going, and we were able to pull the win out. And they've got a new coach this year. They've got some of those kids returning, the 6'7" kids back, so they have some size. They've got some quickness. And so, they're going to pose their, I think Friday and Saturday you got 2 paces. I think Friday night's game you got a real quick pace at both ends of the floor. And then on Saturday, we want Providence to play at our pace. So you're going to have 2 different paces Friday and Saturday. So that's going to be our challenge, to be able to match the pace and to play with the intensity that Bloomington South will on Friday, and then come back on Saturday and play with an intensity and pace that forces Providence to play with us. And so, you kind of got give and take there a little bit on Friday and Saturday. So, but it's a good opportunity for us. We're looking forward to it. I think it's, like I said earlier, we've had 2 really good days of practice so far, and we've had some intensity in practice, and we've got some guys that are competing for minutes and spots, and so we'll see where we're at come Sunday morning.
All good, as you said, practice, if you will. You mentioned practice, but all good preparation as you head towards the state tournament with those different levels, those different competitions, and different situations that your team has been in this year.
Well, if you think about it, I mean, we've played against 2 really good big men, and the kid from Plainfield and the kid from Guerin. And as you go into the Center Grove scenario in the sectional, they've got their big kid that we're going to have to contend with, and then you've also got different paces you got to worry with. Greenwood, watched them last night, and they're playing a little 2-3 zone and kind of slowing it down a little bit. So they're getting a different look than what they've had earlier in the year. You think about Franklin, they've played a lot of man-to-man, and they'll play at a good pace, so that'll help us when we play them next week and as we move in towards the tournament. And so you've got, as you mentioned, you got a lot of different looks. And I told our guys the other day, there's nothing at this point in the year that we haven't seen at least once during action. So now we just got to execute it a little better, understand it, recognize it, and handle it in a more efficient way and move forward. So I'm optimistic about this weekend, but I think this weekend is as much about us as it is anything else.
All right, Coach. As always, we appreciate it. We'll see you there this weekend.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Artesian head coach Kip Staggs here inside Artesian basketball. Martinsville coming up this weekend. It's a tough one on the road. On Friday, they will travel down to Bloomington South, battle the old shaving mug, get down there and watch the Artesians battle the South Panthers, come back to Woodin. On Saturday night as Martinsville battles Providence Cristo Rey. As always, I'd like to thank the head coach for coming in for Kip Staggs, along with the advanced broadcasting class that produced it. I'm Eric Meyer. We'll see you again next time inside Artesian basketball.